We're still finding out more information on exactly what happened to lead to this airlift here at Central Park. We'll be sure to try to get that information to you as soon as possible. However, what I can tell you right now is that there is a minor being transported to the hospital in just a few moments coming from Central Park. So if those of you who are either at Central Park or who saw a helicopter in the area, that is why there was a medical emergency up here in Saugus. And soon a minor will be transported to the hospital outside of Santa Clarita. So part of the reason for that is that it's actually pretty standard when it comes to pediatric patients. And pediatric, a 13-year-old child is still a child. That's going to be something that requires pediatric and special care that maybe places like Henry Mayo can't exactly offer to children up here because they just don't have all of these specialized equipment to allow for the best healing for the minor in question. So this is pretty standard here. This isn't necessarily anything incredibly out of the ordinary. It just tends to be faster to take any minor patients by helicopter to either Children's Hospital Los Angeles or Holy Cross or any of the other hospitals that are outside of the Santa Clarita Valley. So there isn't any major reason for any concern as of yet. But for anybody who's curious, you can go on over and check out this helicopter here. So this is one of our LA County helicopters, specifically Helicopter 22. These are the same helicopters that you'll see running around picking up pretty much anybody in any sort of medical emergency. So these are the same helicopters that come out not only for medical airlifts such as this incident here, but you may also see them become involved in a hoist. So that's when maybe a car goes off the side and somebody needs to actually have a rope dropped down to them with a medic in order to pull them up safely. And just so you guys know, we may turn away the camera in a couple of moments just so that the child that is being transported to the hospital will not be seen. So please bear with us when we do that. This is very, very preliminary information when it comes to this, and please understand it is very noisy right now between the wind and the helicopter and maybe a little bit difficult to hear, so thank you very much for your patience. As I said previously, we're still looking for more information as to what exactly happened. However, we do know that a minor is going to be transported to the hospital after a medical emergency. We don't have any information and we can't share any further information beyond that due to the young age of the patient itself. So if you guys have any questions, go ahead and pop them down in the chat and I'll be able to answer them as much as I possibly can without violating any sort of privacy of the patient from what we do know. So if you did see this helicopter flying north in Santa Clarita, this is where it ended up. We are now currently over at Central Park in one of the soccer fields. And Central Park is actually one of the major helispots up here in Santa Clarita. It's also one of the main areas, as we saw during the Saugus shooting and several of the large fires in the area. It is large enough that it can house emergency responders in mass. So that's part of the reason why Central Park tends to be such, pardon the pun, a central hub when it comes to actually, all right, we're going to turn the camera here real quick because the patient is being transported into the helicopter. So I'm just going to turn it so we can only see the corner of the helicopter itself and not the patient being transported. So please, as I said, bear with us. I've just turned the camera so that we cannot see the patient being brought into the helicopter itself, just to afford a little bit of privacy, especially during a medical emergency. And we'll be turning right back in just a moment as soon as the patient is securely inside of the helicopter. And I think we should be good. All right, there we go. The patient is now inside of the helicopter. We just turned the camera away for a moment to afford at least a little bit of privacy during this incident. We do know that this started out as a medical emergency, and that the patient involved was a minor. Beyond that, there's really not much more that we can share here. But if you're interested in watching a airlift, this is your place. Now, as soon as we see that door close, it's going to get much louder in a moment. As that helicopter starts winding itself back up. And hold on just one second. We have somebody else walking over to the helicopter. So we're going to move that camera over just one more time. Thank you for bearing with us. We really, over here at KHTS, we try to do our best to preserve the privacy of anybody who is involved in a crash like this or in any sort of incident where it would be putting their private information out there. We do try to do that. We don't always succeed, but we at least try to put that extra step forward. So unfortunately, that doesn't always lead to the best shot, but we do what we can. For those of you who are just joining us, please bear with us. We are at the scene of an airlift at Central Park where a minor is being loaded into the helicopter, which is why I'm only able to show you part of the helicopter right now. There is a child being brought into the helicopter, and we're trying to afford at least a little bit of privacy while that happens. I said, thank you guys very much. We're over here at Central Park where there is a child being loaded into the helicopter. I've just turned the camera to afford a little bit of privacy, and it looks like the patient is now inside the vehicle, so we're able to turn the camera back and give you guys a better idea of what is going on here. So that's one of the Los Angeles County Fire Department helicopters. They're normally the ones that help handle any sort of medical emergencies that happen in the area. Now, it is pretty standard to transport any pediatric patients out of the Santa Clarita Valley, just because our local hospitals up here don't have areas with specialized care for pediatric patients. That's anybody that is a child up here in the Santa Clarita Valley. So we're taking them down to Children's Hospital LA or potentially Holy Cross. Now, this is going to get real loud here. Bear with us. And you'll be able to see this helicopter taking off. It's going to get a little windy. You may want to turn down your sound if you haven't already. All right, and that helicopter is off to one of the hospitals further down in Los Angeles, out of the Santa Clarita Valley. Thank you guys very much for joining us. You can head on over to hometownstation.com or follow us on any of our social medias at KHTS Radio for the latest in Santa Clarita news. This is Jade Abashan signing off.